What up, man?
Hello, welcome to What Bitcoin Did.
Welcome.
What's up, man? How's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Chilling. Good. It was good to see you last night.
Good to see you last
Thank
night.
you for dinner, by the way.
You're very
It
welcome.
was
It
very good.
was a good meal.
Yeah.
Shame we didn't have Danny with us.
Next time.
Danny had FOMO.
I know. I miss Danny. Danny's cool.
Danny is cool.
The viewers don't get to see Danny, but he's a cool guy. Very handsome, suave,
There's a camera right there looking right at me.
sophisticated. I guess they do get to see it.
He's getting popular now. He's getting his own fans. Do you see the comment on YouTube the other?
No.
Yeah, you did.
I honestly didn't. What did it say?
It was like, I love it when Danny speaks.
That was my mum.
It's very, his voice is good. It's soothing.
Yeah.
You know?
Who do you think sounds posher, HODL?
You, for sure.
you.
Danny, absolutely.
I just think
Peter sounds cockney. Sounds like fucking Dick Van Dyke. And
I just think it's because you've got that northern monkey voice. I think it's exotic.
every time I hear Peter speak, I just hear it like, hello, governor.
Hello, sunshine. What you say? So what's going on, man? Are you good?
What's up, man? Just chilling.
What are we going to talk about?
You tell me. You're the interviewer. You want me to do your job for you?
Well, you're in recovery mode.
I think you're more hungover than I am.
I didn't mean that. I'm not hungover today. I didn't get to. I only had, like 4 or 5 drinks.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no hangover.
That's good, man.
We will get one tonight, though.
Okay.
See you staying.
Maybe.
Do you want me to phone your wife? Have a word. Say like
you can try.
Say this very important event has come up, and we need the Mr. American.
I'm going to a honky tonk with some nice British gentlemen.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to sing American Pie and shit like that.
The original conception of this episode was we were going to talk about like being off Twitter and like the escape from the echo chamber and that kind of thing. And then you just got back on Twitter because you're addicted.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, you can't. Well, look, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, despite my dramatic claim I'm leaving Twitter, you end up missing it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You end up missing it, but also actually you end up missing the benefits from it because your account becomes stagnant. And so if your account becomes stagnant, that actually affects the
engagement,
popularity of the show. But also, I just felt like the people of Earth need me, and I have to come and bring. That's a line I stole from what's that film? Road Trip.
Oh yeah.
Remember the bit they're stone on the porch, and he said, "I think the people of Earth need me." No, I just felt like a more moderate voice is sometimes required in the Bitcoin community, or a different voice, maybe a European voice or a British voice, to challenge some of the other ideas.
So you're there to do echo chamber bursting. That's why you came back.
A little bit, and just what it is. Come on, you must miss it.
How are you doing? Well, yeah, I'm fucking addicted to it. It's like it's a serious like addiction. Like who would have thought that we'd all be addicted to these little computers that we like keep in our pockets? You know what I mean? And when you have like when you have a big account on Twitter and you have a lot of engagement, followers, and people are adding you. Do you see what this guy said about you? Oh man, gloves are off, motherfucker. Like, and I love conflict. That's like part of my personality. So like I just keep getting sucked in all the time. And so finally I had to just be like, you know what, this is not productive. This is not a good use of my time. It seemed like to me, I was like stuck in the same argument with the same like 5 mentally ill people, like, and it just never ended. It was like it was
Dita Bob.
Yeah, well, some people, yeah,
yeah, Dita Bob. You just argued with Dita Bob all day. Look, it is what it is. People think I want conflict. I actually prefer resolution. I prefer discussing things and trying to find resolution. And I definitely try and write better tweets and less dickish tweets, but I just can't help myself sometimes.
Well, people hate the enlightened centrist, and nowhere more so than on Twitter, because Twitter is both sides fighting it out. And if you come in and you're like, hey guys, there's like some good points over here, and there's some good points over here, and like there's a lot of nuance on these. These are complicated issues. That's never going to go over well on the internet.
Not in America. The rest of the world, we're okay with this.
Yeah.
It's just in America. I think that that Wait But Why guy put out this chart. The Wait But Why guy.
Urban or something. Yeah.
So it was a chart, and it shows over time like the overlap on issues, and now there's no overlap.
Yeah.
It's like you're one side or the other. And what people also do, they try and put you in one side.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you support Ukraine, you're in that side.
Yeah.
And if you are anti-gun, you're in that side. Or if you're pro-life, like they want to put you in a side, but it's like, hold on. Sometimes they don't all fit into a nice little box.
Right. You know, like the Russia-Ukraine thing was interesting to me because it was just all propaganda on the pro-Russia side. And then it was just all propaganda on the pro-Ukrainian side.
Yeah.
And like looking at it, I couldn't figure out what was objectively real, like at all. So my solution to this was not to dig in further. My solution was just to be like, I don't know. I don't live in Russia or Ukraine. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, propaganda is just a tool. That's just a weapon.
Well, everything is propaganda, right? Like there's this idea of like current thingism, right? So like, oh, I support the current thing. You know what I mean? The current thing is vaccines, or it's lockdowns, or it's Russia, or it's Black Lives Matter, or it's trans rights, or it's whatever, you know. And it's just, you're being bombarded with it all the time. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners who have more of like a disagreeable attribute to their personality take pride in basically being like anti-current thing.
Yeah.
But whether you're pro-current thing or you're anti-current thing, you are still controlled by the current thing. So like,
I think I'm nuanced about the current thing.
You're nuanced about the current
I like to think I am. I am. Give me a topic and I'll give you my nuance.
Abortion.
Okay. You actually picked the one I'm less nuanced about. And I've never really publicly, I don't think I've ever publicly said what I think about this because I don't like abortion. I'm anti-abortion.
Yeah.
But I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Republican.
So would you deny all abortions?
I think that's where you have to get into the nuance.
Right.
I think and there's like a scale, right? Like if the mother will die if this baby continues to grow inside her, I think you have a very valid reason to discuss termination of that pregnancy.
That one's pretty obvious. So that's an easy one.
Yeah, and then
if somebody wants to kill have an abortion. Sorry, I said kill, but like have an abortion at week 16. Are you okay with that?
I don't like it.
Like just an elective abortion.
I just don't like it.
So you're pretty pro-life. Like that's what we would call you in America.
Yeah, I'm pretty pro-life, but I'm a bit of a pussy on it that I don't like the idea of regulating it, but I just don't like it. My thoughts on it are I would rather effort went into helping people avoid that decision.
Yeah.
If you had to put me on one side, I'm pro-life.
Okay.
But that it's one of those tricky ones because it's like once you say that, there's a whole bunch of people who just want to shout at you for it. It's just like, I'm sorry. It's just there's a really good Louis C.K. sketch about it where he basically says like, oh, these people campaigning outside of abortion clinics, they're so they're so off-putting, they're so this, and he's like, well, they think you're murdering babies,
right?
Of course they think that, and other people don't. I think it is probably the toughest of all of the subjects.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I could give you a nuanced take on abortion too. I won't because I don't care that deeply about that issue. But the point is basically like, okay, listen, it's not black and white. It's not current thing or anti-current thing.
Yeah.
There's a gradient there.
Yeah.
And you're basically saying to me like, I fall usually in the middle of the gradient. I can see truth on both sides.
That's not exactly right. So as somebody who does this job, I try my best to see both sides. But I don't always fall in the middle. Sometimes I'm, on Russia, Ukraine.
Maybe let's say then that I can tell you've been in a courtroom like this motherfucker. Like
but like Russia, Ukraine.
Like I'm like a litigator. I have to like pull it out of you.
Russia, Ukraine. I'm very much on the side of Russia has invaded a sovereign country.
Yeah, they're the aggressor.
And you can pick up all this NATO. I don't care. They've invaded and they're firing missiles at people and killing them. I'm very clear on that.
Yeah.
I'm very clear on I do not want guns in the UK like you have it here in the US. Like I could be very clear on some subjects,
sure.
but that's my point. But I also try and I just want to understand both sides.
So this is still not my point. My point is basically this. It's like the thing and your thoughts surrounding the thing, no matter where you fall in the gradient, right? You are being controlled because you are thinking about the thing. That's the point. Is like, if I say to you, Peter, Rocky Road is a trash ice cream. It's the worst ice cream on earth. And then you say to me, well, yeah, but that's not true. I mean, I like pistachio and mint chocolate chip or whatever. Now you're thinking about ice cream. I own you. You're in my frame now. You know what I mean? Like that's like the B.F. Skinner behavioralism thing. Like that's the soup that we're all swimming in at all points. It's like, if you can control the thing's environment, you can control the thing. And they can't tell you how to think. Nobody can tell you how to think. But people can certainly tell you what to think about. Why have I spent so much of my life thinking about trans rights. I am not trans. I don't know anybody that's trans. I very rarely have ever met anybody that's trans. I don't care about trans issues, pro or con. I just don't care. It's not a part of my life. Why do I spend so much time thinking about it?
Sometimes maybe because you live in a democracy, and in a democracy, we kind of figure this shit out as a collective.
So that's the point, is because we live in a democracy, the powers that be have to keep control of the mob.
Yeah,
and they use the current thing to keep control of the mob.
But is it control? Have we just not always had there's issues to be talked about?
Certainly, yeah. No, issues are real.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, what you focus on, like, basically becomes your reality, right? And so if they can get you to, whoever, like some mystical they, but like, there's like a whole system of selective pressures that like form to create, the mainstream media apparatus, what Eric Weinstein calls the distributed idea suppression complex, basically the Twitter algos, the Facebook algos, the Instagram algos, right? Like you're being manipulated at all points in time, right? And like the only solution I found, like this is the escape from the echo chamber thing. The only solution I found is just to not be on any of those platforms, not inhale any media. I get all of my news word of mouth nowadays. Like I don't look at the news at all. Maybe I'll see some headlines and I'll be like, oh, they're trying to push this shit or trying to push that shit.
What the fuck do you do with your time?
Just chill. I kick it with my kids. I hang out.
Are you retired?
Go to the gym. Yeah, I'm retired. Yeah. I mean, I don't have to stay up on things because I have some Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like at least 6.15 Bitcoin, and that allows me a nice, comfortable retirement.
Did you show him?
No.
The password for the Wi-Fi here has 615 in it.
Well, because we're in Nashville, which is the whole area code is 615.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. You're in the 615.
Right.
See what I mean?
Okay. Kind of.
Do you know what an area code is?
Well, yeah, we call it a postal code.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's a zip code. An area code is the phone number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the bit in the brackets.
America is so large geographically that like we have to have all these.
No, we have those
different numbers. Yeah.
And do you know what that's interesting? It's not that interesting. It's really boring. But where I live in Bedford has the area code 01234. That's probably Bedford's greatest achievement. It got the sequential numbers from 0 to 4. Everyone else gets random shit. Milton Keynes, I think, says 01908. We got 01234.
Yeah.
Bedford's greatest achievement.
That's one of those anecdotes that like the person tells it to you and you go, oh yeah, just to be nice. But in your head, you're thinking, what the fuck? Who fucking cares?
Well, there's more to this because they didn't used to have the 1. Do you remember that?
No.
So it actually used to be 0234. And when they announced they were adding the 1, everyone in Bedford got excited because they filled the gap. So we went from 0234, which was kind of like that, to 01234. There's probably a show title in that.
I think you're pushing it.
Very, very interesting. This is very
all right. Well, listen,
titillating stuff.
I have to keep up to date on these things because I have to talk about these things.
Yeah,
I have to talk about sometimes the latest thing or the relevant thing, or
of course. Yeah, that's your job. You're part of the media apparatus. You know what I mean?
Part of the
you're one of the they thems. They come to you with a briefcase full of money and they tell you what your narrative is, right? I'm just fucking around.
I go with exactly what I want to talk about. Like, okay, I've got some things I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, hit me.
I put a couple of threads out on Twitter recently. One this week with regards to digital dollars.
Yeah.
So as a Bitcoiner, lots of Bitcoin
CBDCs or stablecoins.
Stablecoins, not the algos, but whatever. Forget about them. A lot of people who are Bitcoiners rightly don't like shitcoins.
Yeah, of course.
Some people are like, I don't care because anyone can create money as long as you have a free choice to use it. But whatever, they can be critical of shitcoins. But we have got to this place whereby there is a real need for digital dollars in the world. Things like Tether have become very important to people in Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey, whatever.
Yeah.
At the moment, they perform best on some of these shitcoin platforms. How do we square that circle as pro-freedom, pro-human people who want the best for, we want people in dire economic situations to have the best access to money as possible, knowing full well that Bitcoin is not the right tool day to day for some people just because of the volatility. So there is an actual reason to be pro stablecoins. So how do we square that circle with these platforms? Because it's been challenging me, and I've seen some people go back, no, they're shitcoins, forget them. You're promoting shitcoins, and I'm like, I guess I am, but at the same time, it's only because I spoke to Gladstein. He's like, These digital dollars are super important in these jurisdictions.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
in the third world, the
yeah.
developing world.
How do we square that circle?
So for me, it's like I just don't care about stable coins. You know what I mean? I never have. You can't invest in stable coins, right? Like,
I mean, you can if you own a shit currency, like I don't know, like the Argentinian peso, you can invest in stable
sure,
coins.
you can store value in stable coins. Stable coins are number go down coins by default because they're trying to keep stable value with the US dollar, which is inflating away purchasing power. So
Yeah.
they're not actually stable. They're number go down, right?
Well, the number go down depending on where you are on a long-term basis, always against Bitcoin.
Yeah, but it
on
might
a short-term basis,
might be better than your local currency. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it might be better than your local currency. It might also be better than Bitcoin in certain timeframes of bear markets.
I also just think, I don't know why there's so much talk about stablecoins to me, because they just seem like a temporary stopgap measure in between here and a fully digital dollar, like a CBDC. And so, it's like basically the algorithmic ones don't work, will never work, are stupid, are pointless. We obviously saw the Luna collapse. And I mean, I don't know why people were taken by surprise because of it. I kept hearing this thing about like, it was a top 10 cryptocurrency. It was a blue chip cryptocurrency. First of all, there's no such thing as a blue chip cryptocurrency. Like these don't have returns. I mean, like Terra Luna had a 20% return. And, you have to realize that like rats die in the trap because they don't understand why the cheese is free. And you just became the fucking rat because you didn't understand why the cheese was free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like that concept is an outright scam. And I think anybody peddling those is they're either a moron or they're a liar. And in either case, it's not great. And then you have like the fully regulated, like, whatever the Jeremy Allaire's of the world are doing. And I think, there's some interesting stuff there, but they basically just are like big fintechs to me. And I just don't care about it. I think if people in the third world, the developing world, want to like use stable coins because it makes sense for them, absolutely. Like who am I to tell them, these people who are living on $3 to $5 a day, like who am I to tell them what to do with their wealth? I'm nobody to tell them what to do with that, right? So it's like, it'd be nice if some of this was attached to Bitcoin, I suppose. But then again, it's like, you don't really need it to be. I don't know. The whole phenomenon is kind of pointless, in my opinion. But then again, I'm not in the developed world. So,
well, when it's a CBDC, we don't know what controls will exist over who can access it, where they can access it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get a little bit more freedom with Tether on Tron than you might get from a Fed-issued CBDC. You might say, well, you know what? We're not going to let those people in Egypt use it.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, the U.S. government is not going to allow people to algorithmically or whatever back to the dollar without pretty hefty regulations. And so they're going to bring the entire stablecoin industry to heel, and it'll be ultra regulated, et cetera.
Yeah. All right. Well, you just don't give a shit about that then.
Well, no. I mean, why do you care about it?
Because I make a show and I'm trying to understand the space. I'm trying to understand how people use currency in different locations. I'm not making a show for people in America to buy Bitcoin and hodl for 4 years and buy a car. I'm making it for anyone, anywhere who can benefit from it. But in doing that, you have to understand the money. And then when you understand the money, you understand the tools that people use. Yeah. One of the tools is these digital dollars. And I have seen some criticism of it. It's like, no, we should just be promoting Bitcoin to these people. And it's just like, well, hold on a second. This person might live on $20 a week.
Right.
And their cost of living is more than that. They have no ability to save. They certainly don't want to put in something that might crash in a couple of days by 20%, which can happen, we know. So I think it's giving sometimes bad advice. I think it's a world of, basically for most people, there is a world of Bitcoin and dollars, which is good advice, and we should pair them together and tell people what, give advice on what should be used for what. And we have to be empathetic to their local challenges, geographic, economic challenges. And it's not everyone should just buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't going to solve short-term issues. I think Bitcoin at a nation level can solve long-term macro issues.
Yeah.
Okay. But it doesn't solve short-term micro issues for the individual if the timing is wrong. And I think there's certainly risk to that. And I think that needs wrapping into the education.
Yeah, well, certainly there's been, Bitcoin has a long evolutionary arc, and it's going through this sort of order of operations where it's store value first, medium of exchange, then eventually widespread unit of account. And that's like a 50-year process, right? So like in the interim, we're doing basically every bad idea at full tilt. And when I say we, I mean a bunch of people with loose morals are doing it, like the Do Kwons of the world. So like, I don't know, if you're going to like go out there and like, say, yes, everybody should be using stable coins, right? Like a lot of people looked at the Terra Luna thing and they were like, this is a top 10, stable coin, whatever. And how can I lose? And they're giving me a great return, and people don't understand. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you've now given, okay.
I've not told anyone to buy
I don't
Terra
think,
Luna.
I don't, I'm not saying you have, but like I'm saying, like, if that is the case, then what happens when they get fully rug pulled? There's so much trust involved in a stable coin.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's no trust. Like the idea that it's so archaic that we're like trusting humans to like set the monetary policy of anything. We have a programmatic monetary policy now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, I feel like we have the fucking internal combustion engine, and I'm watching people try and pull cars with horses still. And they think it's a great idea. They think they've made an innovation. You know what I mean? And this is what the shitcoiners will tell you. They'll be like, what about innovation? You hate innovation? No, it's like, I love innovation.
You're not open-minded.
Yeah, they'll say you're not open-minded. No, I fucking love innovation, okay? But most evolutionary progress is a bunch of maladaptations until you find a successful adaptation. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then when you have the successful adaptation, it carries forward. That's the 0 to 1 moment. Most of these shitcoin adaptations or innovations are 1 to N. They're just different shitty versions of things we already have that personally enrich the founders, right? So it's like, who has all the Bitcoin from Terra Luna? Somebody has it.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
They
didn't
sold
sell it.
They did
I
sell.
don't believe that shit.
I know. I think you can track it.
Can you?
Yeah, I think didn't it all go into Binance?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they sold it.
If it went into Binance, that means CZ has it because he was a backer from fucking Terra Luna. You know what I mean? Like, somebody has it. That's the point.
Was it 80,000 it swallowed?
Yeah.
Fucking.
It didn't swallow it. It's in CZ's pocket.
Well, it went back into the market. But yeah, I mean, look, I barely paid attention to Terra Luna. It literally came on my radar when people said they're buying $10 billion of Bitcoin, and the whole thing sounded shady. But I think you can grade them. I think Circle in some ways is probably the one you can trust the most. I think that's fully backed by US Treasuries, which isn't the perfect.
Yeah,
but at least it tracks.
Yeah, they're going to be hyper regulated.
Yeah,
like that's the path forward for them, especially after this Terra collapse. It gives Treasury and all the fintech regulators like all the ammo they need to come after the stablecoin industry.
I think it won't just be stablecoins. I think it's everything.
Oh, they're coming for us too. Yeah, they're coming for Bitcoin for sure.
Not in the same way.
They're coming for the cryptos. Yeah,
I think they're coming for the cryptos. I think Bitcoin and maybe ETH.
What they're gonna do to Bitcoin is, they're gonna hit us like there's an EPA sponsored attack that's imminent, right? Like, which was obvious the minute the EPA commission or the Biden admin commissioned the EPA to do a study. It's like, what do you think the EPA is going to find out?
What is the EPA?
The Environmental Protection Agency, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the EPA is going to find out? You think they're going to find out that Bitcoin's fucking awesome, bro? You should fucking go all in? No, they're going to find out that Bitcoin is a waste. It uses too much energy. These people need carbon credits. They're terrible people. Some of them want to wear bear fur coats. You know what I mean? Like, and they're all racist or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be the narrative.
Yeah, and this is why I'm like always fearful of Bitcoin only being picked up by the Republican side. I think it's more, I think if anything, it's more important to be now pushing it to some people on the Democratic side.
I would love to see Bitcoin be more bipartisan, but the truth is that it's not, and it hasn't been going that way. The crypto, like the Ethereum side tends to be heavily left, and the Bitcoin side tends to be heavily right. Like Bitcoin Twitter is like a more right-leaning echo chamber. Whereas Ethereum Twitter is like a more left-leaning echo chamber, right?
This is fucking why Americans so annoying. You've just literally taken these two coins and pitched them against each other.
I think that was Joe Lubin's like chief marketing innovation with Ethereum was like, let's pitch this coin to leftist. You know what I mean?
I mean, once they complete the merge, they're going to come full attack. You know that.
Yeah, for sure.
Full attack.
Yeah,
and it's going to be painful and annoying. And
POS is all the proof of work stuff is a shitcoin sponsored attack on Bitcoin, and that's obvious to anybody who's paying attention. And you know what I mean? Proof of stake is better for them. It's better from an incentive perspective.
Yeah.
It allows them to do some of the things they want to do that, we don't like, but they like, and they have powerful interests behind them. And they're trying to force a change in the code on us. It's
that was the Ripple guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, he
code.
sponsored the Greenpeace attack, and it's like, you can't just change Bitcoin's code. That's not how it works. There's nobody we're going to call on the phone and be like, hey, man, turns out Congress wants us to do proof of stake. That's never happening. So what they'll do is
never happening.
They'll hit North American Bitcoin miners with, taxes, regulations, all sorts of restrictions, carbon credits, etc.
And the hash rate will move.
Probably, yeah. Which is not long-term bad for Bitcoin, but is long-term bad for North American Bitcoin mining. And I mean, America just keeps shooting itself in the foot over and over again. Like, we can't stop ourselves from doing stupid things nowadays. You know what I mean? We're Britain pre-World War I,
Fuck off, man. All right, I want to go through some of the things you wanted to talk about.
Sure.
Especially collectivism versus individualism.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Do you ever get, is there true individualism?
I believe so, yeah.
Or are you talking about here at state level?
Well, some people would say that, okay, so I'll give this up on the argument. I don't think most people are capable of thinking for themselves or thinking from first principles. I think that's a very small percentage of the population that can do that. Maybe it's like, I don't know, I'll say 3 to 5% max, right? Most other people are just regurgitating things that the television has told them, or their favorite Twitter influencer has told them, or their best friend, or whatever. So like some of the individual versus collectivist ideas, like the postmodernists would basically say that, like, no, you're just a mix of your intersectional life, and like you are your tribe and your skin color, and you're whether you're able-bodied or not, whether you're fat or not, whether you're handsome or not, whatever. Like, that's what they would say, and you're going to project on the world as somebody who is all of those things. I think that's bullshit, although I do think that's like largely true. And most people do act like that, right? You meet a guy from Alabama who drives a big old truck, probably he's going to be in favor of Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Probably.
I would guess so.
97% of the time.
Yeah.
But in the like 3% of individuals who can think from first principles and do their own analysis, we get all of our innovation, all of our amazing ideas. Those are the people that drive the world forward. So the individual in a society has to be primary. The group can never outweigh the individual. The individual comes first. And group dynamics are important, and humans have a tendency to collectivize, obviously, but like the individual is primary because the individual is what drives society forward. If we were all just tribal dynamics, we would have killed each other off long ago, right? But there have been enough individuals willing to stand up and say basically like, no more, or we're not going to do things this way anymore. We have a new way of doing things. Here's the idea. And usually what happens, they kill that person. But then later they go, that guy we killed? That guy had some good fucking ideas. You know what I mean?
China might disagree with you at the moment.
In terms of?
Well, the individual.
Well, China prioritizes the collective, but China is not good at innovating. China just steals from America, largely.
Yeah, I mean, do we know every single idea has been stolen? I mean, I know
China is not good at innovating.
I know China does steal, but like, they still, as a collectivist group, they're in a pretty strong position with their space race. They're in a pretty strong position with their IT infrastructure.
Has China ever been to the moon? Did China invent the semiconductor?
Has America ever been to the
Did
moon?
China invent the airplane?
No, I mean, it's playing catch up. No, I fully agree.
They're never going to be able to do it because they don't have a free speech culture. They don't prioritize the individual in their society. They're full-on collectivists. They crush individuals who dissent, and dissent is like the key to innovation.
I agree with everything you're saying here.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you're saying here. All I'm saying is, right now, certain parts of China China itself appears to be in a strong position in certain areas.
Sure, they appear to be.
Yeah, they've grown a strong military. They have a strong space program. They have strong relations with lots of weak countries who are struggling financially.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I support it. That's just because some of the idiots listening might think I support this. I'm just recognizing it.
Yeah, so we prop up China on the back of the American dollar. Globalism is our export. Like, we export dollars. And without us, China doesn't exist. You know what I mean? So like, America is fully supported.
I think that's quite a bold statement now.
No, it's true. It's true, though.
How do you mean without?
Almost everything in this, cute Airbnb. By the way, it's a very cute Airbnb.
Thank you.
Everything in this Airbnb, was manufactured in China, like most of it, and it was because of our dollar as our chief export. we are propping them up. If we decide to, rehome the manufacturing base here in America or put it in Mexico or whatever, China is going to be greatly diminished on the world stage.
How much of China's exports are to the US?
I don't know the figure off the top of my head, but I would bet.
Danny's looking.
All right, I'll take a guess. 30%, I'll say.
I think they would find a way of managing that decline, and it wouldn't be an instant switch off the tap. Because
I think that I'm short China in general. You know what I mean? I'm bullish America long term because even though, listen, like if you look at America right now, it's like it's fucking chaos, pure chaos. You know what I mean? But we're really good at finding our way through the chaos. Like the American plan is to have no plan, and thus far we've been doing pretty good. You know what I mean?
You got it.
I think it's about 17%, but
17%.
I'm not 100% sure. That's
okay.
Right.
They can ride that out.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I say, I'm no fan.
How long could they ride it? See, then you get into the euro dollar system, and it's like, how long could they ride it out without us propping up the euro dollar system? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. These are complicated questions. But you're basically
my point is
your point is that they are collectivist and they are doing great.
They're doing great at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe they stole all their ideas. Maybe their innovation is control.
Yeah.
Their innovation. Yeah.
Well, I think China and America is an interesting divide, right? Because it's like in the Peter Thiel framework of like, AI is a fundamentally communist technology and Bitcoin is a fundamentally libertarian technology. Chinese style AI, Eastern communism is going to be, this is going to be the 21st century versus hopefully, if we get it right here in America, libertarian free market bottom up style economics, right? And I think that bottom up will always outcompete because top down systems can't account for unknown unknowns, or what Taleb would call black swan.
For libertarian, because Bitcoin becomes the standard, or libertarian within libertarian influence within a framework of left-right democracy?
Libertarian-ish. We're never going to be full libertarian. Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like America is supposed to have a vibrant free market and be a vibrant free market capitalist system. And that's where the libertarianism is. Historically.
Yeah.
And a Bitcoin will help, set that right a little more. Because there's a pretty significant public-private partnership between the state and large corporations at the moment because to some degree, the state is the biggest customer of every corporation on earth, which is, ass backwards. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these sort of weird, like why did every business go full COVID restriction? Because the state told them to. You would have assumed there would have been, some high degree of businesses who were like, fuck the state. Like I don't think Bass Pro Shops customers are particularly in love with COVID restrictions. You know what I mean?
Well, I think I think some did, but it tended to be the smaller businesses within red states who were a little bit more pushback.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw stuff like gyms try to stay open.
But anybody who was a large, national conglomerate basically like bent the knee and did what they were told, And it's because we have these bastardized incentives. It's because it's almost like the money is broken or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Elon Musk did kind of challenge in a different way. He did say fuck the state at a state level to California, not to do with COVID, but like, if anything, he is one person who is doing that at the moment. He's like, get back to fucking work in the office, fuck California. Like he is. With Twitter, he's just come out. I mean, I don't know if he's going to buy it anymore, but he's just been like straight and based with all the shit that's wrong with it.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, listen,
it's a breath of fresh air.
I was obviously like a year ago, my opinion on Elon was dog shit because he was annoying the fuck out of me. You know what I mean? And now I have a higher opinion of him at this point in time. We'll see what he does with it. But I think he's the epitome of what's the point of having fuck you money if you never say fuck you?
Yeah.
He's basically saying fuck you to everybody at the moment. And they're going to kill him for it. Or he's going to make it out alive. We'll see. It's the greatest show on earth right now.
Yeah, I do. I wonder, like, the Twitter thing's kind of gotten quiet. I wonder if he's just, like, hoping it goes away.
Well, his net worth is down significantly because of the imminent recession, the macro environment. So, like, maybe he's like, I don't have $43 billion anymore.
Well, it wasn't really his money, was it? Like, you saw
he pieced it together.
You saw the cap table.
Right. I do, but back to the point about the individual versus the collective is like, I mean, Elon is an individual who's like taking a stand for free speech, right? Collectivists don't like free speech because they don't even think it can exist because they think that everybody is just a makeup of their environmental factors, you know, their cultural factors, their genetic factors, their race, their sex, their ethnicity, blah, blah, blah.
Hold on.
right?
I think when you say something like that, you have to like define what you mean by collectivist, and then you have to, you have to be clear on what you mean by they don't like free speech. Because like, what do you mean by collectivist? Like
The left hates free speech
So
and
if
they
you-
want it censored.
Yeah, but I just disagree that everyone on the left hates free speech. I know some people might, but I don't
Well,
think
those
everyone
people, you know what? Those people get fucking trampled underfoot. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like their opinion is very prominent.
And it's like, what do you like, where, when we talk about free speech, what are the limits of free speech? Like,
There are no limits to free speech.
Yeah, but
I'm a
the-
free speech absolutist.
yeah, but there are. There's like,
There's not. You can yell fire in a crowded theater for sure.
yeah, but you can't. So you can't dox someone. There's laws against certain things. So like,
You can dox people. There's no laws against that in America.
Oh, well, there might be platform rules. It's kind of considered you shouldn't dox
There's
people.
terms and
You
conditions.
can't. You
Sure.
can't threaten violence. Also, there's
You can threaten violence. Yeah.
I-
That's just a normal part of speech.
So you're saying there is no limitation
There's no
under
limitations on-
US laws. I thought there's certain things like
No.
things you can't say because they incite, like you incite
Well,
violence.
there are precedents in court that, like, let's say, like, if I was to make a specific threat against somebody, like, it would have to be like, yo, hey, Peter McCormick, I'm gonna come to your house at 6 p.m. on Tuesday the 9th, and I'm gonna stab you with an ice pick, right? I can't say that to you because that's a very credible threat.
Yeah.
But I could say, but if you said something I didn't like, I could say, dude, fuck you. I'll fucking kill you, dude. I could say that.
I think you can't incite violence, right? You can't incite others to violence.
These are all very mushy gray areas, like, and you got to take it to court and see like what actually happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and within the framework of the law, you can't defame people.
You can.
You can, but you can face the law.
We have very different rules here than like your case has brought up a lot of issues.
Well, I'm thinking
but-
more about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Like,
yeah.
like was her like should she have had First Amendment protection? Even?
So those were like very, very specific claims that she made against Depp,
Mhm.
and then she was shown to have basically lied in the courtroom, and he was awarded damages for that, right? Whereas if you just said like if Amber Heard had written an article that was like Johnny Depp is a piece of shit husband and I hate his guts and blah blah blah,
yeah, fine.
that's not defamation. Defamation has to be like, I'm saying that you are doing something that you are actually not doing and it's provable.
Have you found anything?
Here you go.
Okay.
Free speech exceptions: incitement to suicide, false statements of fact, counterfeit currency. Counterfeit currency. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Is that so? Currency is considered speech.
Yeah.
Obscenity, child pornography, fighting words. Click on fighting words, Daddy. I'm gonna fuck you up.
Fighting words.
How the speech is unprotected if it constitutes fighting words. Fighting words, as defined by the court, is speech that tend to incite an immediate breach of peace, provoking a fight, so long as it's personally abusive, which, when addressed to the ordinary citizen, is, as a matter of common knowledge, inherently likely to provoke a violent reaction. Huh. So there are some limitations.
Well, it's basically like, but in almost all of these instances, something after happened. So there was a cause and effect there, right? But if you said something, if I said fighting words to you, but then nothing happened, then what are you going to get me on?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there are precedents set here that there isn't ultimate free speech. There are limitations. Which, for example, a
to
platform.
clarify my point, there should be ultimate free speech. I am a full-on
You're a
free speech
absolutist.
absolutist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are in court, there are specific things that have been determined couth or uncouth under the First Amendment.
Yeah, so I don't want to deal into couth and uncouth, but like I personally accept that we live in a society, and society has rules and order. Rules and order. I don't like the incitement to violence. Like, for example, I think that should you should not be inciting violence against people. I think it's dangerous to be inciting violence, and I think because it's like you go along the set of rules. Should stabbing someone be illegal, and should you be prosecuted for that? Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Well, should we avoid that? Should we avoid situations that people can just go online and say, so and so lives at this address, they're a fuckhead, let's go and burn down their house, and that kind of stuff is dangerous. And it
if
happens.
you say that and then somebody goes and does it and burns down the house, like you have liability there.
Yeah,
but if you
course.
say that and then nothing happens, then you don't have any liability.
But
You know what
I think trying to prevent that is not a bad thing. Removing the incitement to violence.
I think in general that engaging in violent speech is not it's like we have this like weird black and white thinking where it's basically like we used to have cultural norms of like decency and decorum, and like there were things that were not necessarily illegal to do, but like we just didn't do because.
But we didn't have Twitter.
Right. That's part of it too.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things that people will not say in person because I'm right here. I have a reach. I could punch you in the fucking face. But if you said it to me on Twitter, I'd be like, I can't do anything to this guy, right? Like, so it's like
I have to shout back at
it. The keyboard warrior thing or whatever. Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, not everything needs to be codified into law or into terms and conditions. Like, we need to have a culture that just says like, listen, like, hey, don't incite violence. Like, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, just,
yeah, but there's a lot of very stupid people out there who can be convinced to do things.
Well, yeah, I think that was during 2020. You had the summer of riots, and then you had the January 6th incident. And I think in both cases, those were very stupid, mentally ill people who were incited to do things.
Yeah. So you have inherent risk there.
If I say something and somebody does something, I'm responsible just because I said something. You know what I mean?
But it depends how you do it. If you put some false claim, I don't know. You say so in the UK. We had Danny might be able to find it. There was a guy who was accused of being a paedophile. He wasn't, and I think a bunch of people went around and murdered him.
Yeah,
I mean that's dangerous.
That's totally dangerous. Yeah,
and I think the UK we have fucking terrible free speech laws. Obviously, I think that we have hate speech laws. We have people who can be arrested and put in prison for saying words online.
Yeah,
that are considered hate speech, and I think that's gone too far.
Of course, I think like when it comes to free speech, the individual has to have the ability to dissent. Right. And so we should always err on the side of caution when trying to restrict an individual's free speech. Right. So it's like sometimes people go too far, and we all know what that looks like. Right. And we all know what it is. And we all know when somebody needs to be held to account for it. But that's not most instances. Most instances, people are just kind of talking shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man.
And then there's a sort of form of social karma. Like the guy who said that thing to your sister on Twitter.
Yeah.
He got social karma because people held him to account for what he said because it was not acceptable. He didn't need a law to say that's wrong.
Right.
People took it into their own hands to punish him for his actions.
And I wish that hadn't happened. That's an interest. So this guy tweeted at my sister.
I saw that, yeah.
And people listening that everyone is glad that she's dead, posting a picture of my mum. And then people found his employer and told him what happened. He lost his job. And actually, I didn't want that. I didn't think he should have lost his job for it. I think he should have just fucking apologized.
Yeah.
Not doubled down. But that you're right. There is a social karma. And maybe that's better.
I don't know, man. I hate the fucking the cancel culture shit. Like, I hate it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that guy said a shitty thing to you and whatever. But like, that guy probably has a shitty life.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like,
well, I know where he was working when he lost his jobs. I was like, you definitely have a shitty life,
right,
and you're a shitty person,
yeah.
And life sucks. You've had a crap life, and your way of dealing with that is to go online and shout the most abusive things you can at people. And really, you should just be in therapy, and that would be healthy for you.
Yeah. Well, this also goes to this point of like, people are just straight up fucking unwell. People are unwell mentally. And like COVID and the lockdowns and the bullshit and the social strife and the fucking, it did not make things better. It made things worse. And like, I don't know. I just felt it when I was at the airport the other day. Like, it just feels like people are ready to snap on each other at any second. You know what I mean?
Again, feels a little bit more so here.
Yeah.
But
well, we do everything more than everybody else.
Yeah. It's bigger, better.
Bigger, better. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is happening back home. Certainly happening back home. But again, I said to you, I was listening to the Jonathan Haidt interview with Lex Friedman.
Right.
Today is a conversation with Jonathan Haidt. And Jonathan Haidt was saying, he did his studies when he was writing The Righteous Mind, went back to 2013-14, and there's a complete correlation between incidents of self-harm, suicide, anxiety, and panic attacks with the arrival of social media. And the social media is not the problem.
Especially in like preteen girls.
Yeah, preteen girls. Because preteen girls go on Instagram and boys are playing playing Fortnite.
girls do relational damage to each other, whereas boys do physical damage to each other. Like, I mean, when we were kids, like, you know, you'd punch your buddy or your mate, you punch him, and then, you know, the next day you're friends again, right? Or maybe you weren't, but whatever. But like, you fought it out. Girls do relational violence against each other. So in some sense, giving every preteen girl a smartphone is like giving every preteen boy a fucking Uzi. You know what I mean? It's like not good. Because they're at home being like, oh, look at Becky. Oh my God, you're fat. You're a fat bitch. Fuck you. Blah, blah, blah. You know? And it's also like when we were kids, you didn't get invited to the party, whatever. You didn't see it. You didn't hear about it. You didn't know about it.
See it. It's in your face.
Now you fucking see it. It's like not only did you not get invited, but like we're showing you how much you're missing out on. Like, you know, it's tough, man. It's tough to be a kid now.
But he was saying also they just do different things. Girls go on Instagram and look at pictures. Boys play games.
Yeah.
And like yell at each other. So they're doing different things. But he was just saying that it's not social media that is inherently the problem. Being connected is a good thing. It is the algorithms and the rewards via the likes and the retweets and the pressures that come with it. The incitement to argue, the incitement to live in an echo chamber. Something we should talk about because they exist. I don't like them.
Oh yeah. Echo chambers, like listen, like everything is an echo chamber nowadays. The people who tell you they're not in an echo chamber, they're the deepest in the echo chamber. Like every single thing in society has been turned into a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like it's like you got people who are so into the new Star Wars movies that it's their entire existence and they're in the Star Wars echo chamber, right? And it goes from that to like hardcore communism to like hardcore far right fascism. You know what I mean? It's like,
how is communism making a comeback?
I don't know, but I fucking hate it. And like, I swear to God, like I was wandering around like trendy Nashville getting a cold brew coffee and shit. And I swear if you polled like the majority of the young, beautiful looking people I was around, they would all be like, oh yeah, down with capitalism for sure. Right? It's like now a very common thing to say, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you can understand why the different messages that, I think some people may be a little bit down on capitalism because they see it through a different lens. When you're young, you know, you're being given messages within perhaps a more left environment, less free thinking, where billionaires have been demonized. You can't get on the housing. There's like a group of things that are making you think, you know, this capitalism thing's just a bit unfair. I think that's possibly why.
Well, I think because of the fiat system and like the monetary stimulus and the amount of increasing monetary stimulus needed, it's kind of like the floor used to be this, and now the floor is like this. And only people who are really adept can make that climb now. It's a really difficult climb.
Yeah.
It's a very steep slope.
Well,
right.
If you've got children, you're preparing now to try and get them on the housing ladder at some point. It's going to be nigh on impossible for my children to get on the housing ladder.
I already like gift my kids Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't give my kids Bitcoin. Fuck that.
Oh, I do. I mean, you know, you just keep it in a...
Well, you always giving it away. You always giving it to me.
You're welcome. I provided 1 Bitcoin for your legal defense against Craig Wright, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, we need another bet.
Yeah, we should.
What is it to bet on?
Isn't it going to be on a Bedford game?
I think it's a good one. I think betting on whether Bedford wins their division. And Danny, be the arbiter of whether this is a good bet.
Yeah.
I think we go up. Whether we win or not is tough. Come in top.
You have to take the pro Bedford side, obviously.
Of course.
Of course.
You can have all the other 19 places. I take that.
See, the
one.
thing that sucks about that bet, though, is like you're in control of the outcome of that bet. So
not really. The manager is, and just as
you're the team owner, so it's like, you know what I mean.
Are you saying automatic promotion or playoffs?
Automatic. We've got to win the league.
It's not a guaranteed thing.
No.
Danny, what do you think the chances?
What do you think the odds are on that?
I probably won't bet against it.
You wouldn't bet against it.
So you have a good shot to do it.
Well, I'm not giving you a cut. I think we've got a good shot, but I think it's going to be between there's us, there's Eton Sokum, there's Ampthill, there's Northampton Sarwi. There's some good teams in there.
Yeah.
And last year I threw money at the team. I bought them. We were 7th. At the end of the season, we finished 7th, and our wage bill went from 0 to like, I probably shouldn't. Well, it was public. It's about £2,000 a week.
Totally.
Okay, and it made 0 difference. So you cannot just buy success.
Yeah.
But
unless you're Man U or whatever, right?
Yeah. What do you think the odds are? I put it, if I was betting, I actually felt 50-50. I think we go up, but I think it's 50-50 whether we win.
You think it's 50-50?
I think it's genuine 50-50.
I think it'd be leaning in your favor slightly.
Okay.
Mm.
All right.
I don't know. I don't like that one.
I think a bet on a single game is more interesting.
Yeah.
And quicker.
I got to pick your toughest competition and then,
that'd be
that
Eden Sokum away. I imagine it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other like election stuff. There's the World Cup.
We could just do like the fucking Super Bowl or something. We should just go. We'll just go to the Super Bowl.
Well, we got the World Cup and
NBA finals are like this week, aren't they?
Isn't England in the same group as the USA? Or is USA is in a group with Iran, Ukraine.
Yeah, it's like the group of
death.
The actual group of death.
The actual group of death.
I don't know anything about football. You know what I mean? Like nothing.
We will come up with a bet. Well, we should talk about Bitcoin as well.
Yeah,
we've not really been talking about Bitcoin. How do you feel Bitcoin's going?
Well, it was better when I was richer. Remember that? Remember when we were richer? That was good.
I don't know. I am richer because you keep giving me Bitcoin. Price doesn't bother me.
You must be really poor if that's doubling your net worth.
Honestly, I'm immune to the price.
Yeah,
pretty much. Like long term.
Long term, yeah, of course. I mean, like how many times have we gone through this?
Well, I think we're meant to feel scared right now.
Yes,
that's always what we're meant to feel. You're meant to feel like shit. I should probably sell some because it might go down, and then then it rallies.
Yeah, there's a classic expression on Wall Street: "Wear them out, scare them out." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they know that retail can't play the same games that the big whales can play, so they try and just put the pain on you as much as you can. And if you're a retail investor, you have to just suck it up and get through it. There's like a Munger quote that's basically like, if you can't go down 50% without making a big fuss about it, you're not well adapted to long-term investing success, basically. So it's like if you're whining on Twitter about your net worth being down, like you're probably not going to make it. You know?
I think we've decoupled from the cycle, the 4-year cycle. That's right.
I think that's dead.
I think narrative wise, people are going to start pushing it in about a year. And they're going to see. But
people have all sorts of justifications for it. It's like, it's a lengthening cycle. It's a double cycle. It's a triple cycle. Whatever.
Cycle.
Yeah, super cycle. Like it's like, I think it's all nonsense. And I used to believe in it pretty heavily. But like, here's the thing: is like and as Bitcoiners, we're extremely myopic. We have no fucking idea what's going on in the broader macro context, other than like there's increasing monetary stimulus, and we all sort of lean on that as like our but we don't really understand like the macro headwinds or how the big capital allocators are thinking about the markets, and we do our best to try and understand it. But like now that we're a $1 trillion asset class, not now, but like we were, we're getting pushed around in the macro waters. We live in the ocean now. We've gone from the tide pool to the fucking ocean, and things are different in the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that if that cycle's decoupled, I don't actually know what it means, because it could mean we could bounce around in a range of like years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have been in the same range since December of 20.
I know. That's kind of mad when you think about it.
It is now June of 22. So we haven't gone out of that range the entire time.
18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird when you think about it, because you look at the price, you're like, oh yeah, we're still at 30,000. That's kind of cool. It's like, yeah, we were there 18 months ago. It's like, really?
I know, it's annoying.
Holy shit.
Because you're like
right, should have traded that.
What are we at, 28 right now? So if you bought the top in 2017, you're up like what, like 30% or something?
Yeah, no.
Like, it's not very good.
Yeah.
It's 5 years for 30%,
Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't buy the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I didn't sell the top. Some people did.
None of us ever.
Could be worse. You could have bought it at 69.
I always write it down. I always tell myself I'm not going to get euphoric, and then every bull cycle I get super fucking euphoric.
We're going to 300K. I'm going to bet half a Bitcoin on this.
Yeah, totally. And I just can't help myself, man. I'm never going to apologize for being bullish on Bitcoin. You can't be too bullish on Bitcoin, you know?
Yeah. But I do feel like everything is like changing in Bitcoin now because of this, and that's probably a good thing. Having those like predictable cycles, maybe it's great and maybe it's fun. I wish I'd had one more, just one more.
We all wish that, because we all wanted to dump the top and then rebuy at the bottom, of course.
As an individual, that's what I wanted.
Everybody wants that.
As the collective, I want more stable, consistent growth.
Yeah. I think so too.
I think that's better for Bitcoin. I think it's better for adoption. I think it's better for everyone.
Bitcoin Tina has this like hardest trade thesis where he's like basically like Bitcoin is going to bore you to $1 million a coin.
Love it.
And that's what's happening. I feel fucking bored to death.
When do you think it'll happen by?
$1 million a coin? I'm gonna say 2027 at the latest. So 5 years from now.
I bet you Bitcoin it doesn't. That's done. 2027.
I mean, no one loses in that bet.
No one loses in that bet.
By the way, I get to the end of 2027.
Actually, HODL loses.
Hold on, that's just annoying because I've got to wait like what's that, 5 years
Till 2028.
I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, but we're all 5 years going to go like that.
It's
like
a good bet because you're either right or you're wrong. But
no, it's a good one.
But I think,
and I love betting. I love taking the bullish side on bets, and it's not about winning the bet. It's about deepening my conviction. You know what I mean?
No, I like winning the bet.
That's fine. You need it. You're much poorer than I.
That sounds like Terra.
The only thing is,
it is a code.
5 years. 5 years is a long time. I don't think there's a guarantee that either of us are actually alive in 5 years. So we should probably put that into some kind of
multi-sig escrow storage.
Yeah. Put it on one of those little.
We were supposed to do like a DLC and we never got around.
I know, we never got around.
Maybe we should do some fancy I don't know, Taproot shit or something.
I thought you did one with Phil Geiger. Or was that just a multi-sig?
No, that was a multi-sig.
Yeah, where I lost the key.
Basic multi-sig. When he's lucky I didn't fucking dump my key.
Yeah.
Because I was going to throw it away. Because as soon as I lost the bet, I was like, I don't need this key. But then you lost your key.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm a nice guy.
Were you proud of me of figuring out my
the open die?
Open die.
Yeah. No, I knew that Danny or somebody would help you.
No, I did it all on my own. The only thing was, you got to break that thing.
Yeah.
I was like trying to break. I was like, am I
Use
meant to be
safety pin?
Am I meant to be pushing this hard? Can you end up destroying the device?
Yeah. You probably could break it in half if you did it wrong. But just a safety pin, you just push it right there.
I got a Matt Odell tutorial for that. Thank you, Mr. Matt Odell.
There you go.
Appreciate you.
Did you get it in person or did he do it?
No, I found a video who was doing about it.
2027 million a coin. I feel confident about that. Okay. I'm in my HODL Zen mode at the moment.
What do I think? What do I think? I mean, I think the way it gets there is more from dollar debasement than from Bitcoin accumulation, price accumulation. Because
but they're go through two sides of the same coin.
Yes and no. I don't think we get there thinking, "Wow, we've got masses of purchasing power here."
I don't think we get there thinking. I don't think we get there thinking we're poor either. You know what I mean? But you're right about so take a trophy property, right? Those are going to continue to go up in value, especially with all the monetary stimulus. So right now it's let's say it's roughly $25 million to have a baller place anywhere in the world. You could have it in Aspen or Miami Beach or LA or Hawaii, whatever, right? Bedford probably
you probably buy the town.
Yeah, no. So let's say it's $25 million. By the time you get to $1 million a coin, same property is probably $50 million. So if you want the property, you got to part with 50 coins.
I mean, 50% debasement in 5 years, that's feasible depending on how much money the Fed prints. But
they're about to print fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Well, we just
post-election.
Yeah. Well, pre-midterms, you think?
No. There's too much gridlock right now. They're not going to get anything done, in my opinion.
Okay. So we had Preston.
Plus, the Republicans want to fuck with Biden. So, the Republicans are pro-recession at the moment.
Right. So Preston thinks they're going to print 5 to 10 trillion.
I agree with that assessment, 100%.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. Well, they have to do it every time. They have to increase the stimulus, and they have to decrease the amount of time between stimulus,
which is the great deleveraging.
Yeah. There you go.
We're fucked.
Yeah. Well, it's everything is going up. Basically everybody got minted during COVID. Anybody who had any amount of financial assets, right?
Yeah.
So everybody did well, except for people who didn't have assets. They did really shitty. And I think, back to the conversation about communism. I mean, this is why the calls for communism are going on, is because if you don't own anything, we're basically becoming stratified like Europe, where it's we have a class system. You guys have a total class system, and there's some social mobility there, but
we don't really have a class system.
You effectively do. It's just invisible. You know what I mean? There's very little social mobility in the UK. There is much more in America.
Danny's giving you eyes, and I'm giving you eyes.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to think about it.
No, I mean you guys
we have the elite class.
Yeah,
the lords
and the ladies.
The lords and the ladies.
Yeah, there's just this is a fact. There's much less social mobility in Europe, and that's starting to become the norm in America as well.
I think we used to. I think we used to have a very traditional labor stronghold working class. But I think that's gradually been eroded.
Sure.
I don't feel a class system in the UK.
That's because you're part of the lower class. You have to tell yourself that.
Yeah. Not anymore. All right, man. Well, we will see. It's a good bet, though. That's a really good bet.
I like that bet.
And we better hope you can. It's basically a double of quits now.
It's $1 million bet if I'm right.
Yeah. It's could be a 990,000 bet if you're wrong.
That's what you would love, yeah.
I would love.
Go right up to 990.
Yeah, literally 999.22.
Something.
Yeah. I've got your list here. Brainwashing. Let's talk about brainwashing.
Oh yeah, me and you were talking about. You were the one who said this to me. You were like, do you know? You were the one who said it to me, and you said it to me like this. You were like, you know how like at Jim Jones' cult down in like Guyana or wherever, they would like blare messages on the loudspeaker, and then you were supposed to repeat them, or like in Fight Club, like where it's like, you are not a special and unique snowflake, you are nothing. The process of being on Bitcoin Twitter is a lot like this. Like there are things you can say and things you can't say. And so over time, you basically just keep repeating the same things that you are allowed to say. Like,
you mean groupthink?
Yeah, right. And this is like a sort of self-brainwashing that happens. And like, you're not really super aware of it. Like this is part of the echo chamber thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like I've always resisted it. I feel the gravity of it sometimes, but I've also tried to resist it.
Sure.
But it exists.
You're still captured by it though. Everybody is.
I think I'm captured by the bullishness of Bitcoin, what it means, but I don't think I'm captured by the political lens that it's seen through by certain people.
Sure. You just mean that the Bitcoin Twitter echo chamber is like more right leaning. Basically.
I think it can be, yeah.
No, I think it's like an absolute fact that it is. You know what I mean? And I'm right leaning myself, so like I have no problem saying that. You know?
Yeah. I think it's right leaning. I think it's anarchist leaning.
Yeah. Go on Twitter and put up a post that's in defense of vaccines or social welfare or whatever.
I mean, I've done all of those.
Yeah, and you got significant pushback each time you did it, right? Because the echo chamber leans right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that's healthy?
I think it's natural. And in some sense, like I think the filtering mechanism is working as intended, but then in some senses it's a net negative. So it's really tricky to get your head around, like, is Bitcoin culture helpful or harmful to Bitcoin? Like, I don't know the answer to that. You know what I mean? And at this point, it runs on its own. Like you're like, I need to go there and I need to push against the culture. I need to do this. I need to do that. Or like Udi was a person who was like really, going hard against the culture for a while there, trying to do echo chamber bursting. And it's just going to get fucking steamrolled. It's like saying, I'm going to fight that tank. The tank is going to win,
No, I think my approach is different to Udi's.
Sure.
I think Udi
yours is softer.
I think Udi is contrarian for the sake of contrarian.
Yes.
And it's more of a troll.
I think Udi believes those things. The trolling is cover.
Jeremy put it away yesterday. He said, what you tend to find in Bitcoin Twitter is that people just close doors. Like they close doors on ideas. They just shut them closed. And I'll come along and I'll reopen it and say, well, can we think about this? Have you thought about this?
I think dogmatism is something that needs to be fought. You know what I mean? Like if you've come to these conclusions like via a rigorous first principles analysis, I think that's great. You know what I mean? But if you came to these conclusions because they were prescribed to you, that's shit. And that needs to get out of Bitcoin culture. Like we need more independent thinkers in Bitcoin, not less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm talking to you in person, like at a conference or something, and I can tell that you're regurgitating talking points to me, I just have like zero respect for you.
And why do you think that happens? Do you think it happens because people want to fit within a certain group? Or do you think it comes back down to that Jonathan Haidt thing whereby like you either have one set of beliefs or you have another set of beliefs? Like conservatives tend to believe a lot of similar things. And, are they doing that to fit within the conservative framework?
No,
or are they doing it because a conservative is a certain mindset?
They're not mindsets. Haidt describes them as moral palettes.
Yeah.
Right. So like liberals have a much narrower moral palette than conservatives do. Conservatives have a much broader moral palette where like purity is something that conservatives are really interested in, whereas liberals have like basically no care about purity at all. Whereas the liberal moral palette is about care harm reduction.
Care harm reduction. Yeah.
So everything is about care harm reduction, and that's why they prioritize the group, right, over the individual, because individuals can harm the group essentially, and so they're always trying to prioritize for the least amount of harm. And the problem is like this is why Stalin or Hillary Clinton I think said this as well. Like, I'm not trying to draw too direct a comparison, but basically that there's a lot of people on the left who are useful idiots because you can use their empathy and their sense of caring against them quite effectively. Whereas it's not true on the right. Now on the right, you can use.
Do you not have a bias there to say that?
No, I'm saying on the right, you can use like sort of appeal to authority much more effectively. You know, the right is always looking for like a strong man to lead them, right? Like that's part of the Trump phenomenon there.
Okay.
So there are different ways you can manipulate different groups, right? The like liberal is somebody who's telling you like there's no room at the top because that guy took your spot from you. Like that guy is the problem. They point at the conservative.
Yeah.
The conservative is a person who's saying like there's room at the top. You can join me. Like you just have to be born like super special like I am, right? You know, and it's like both of them are just trying to manipulate their groups.
But back to my question, do you think they are coming to those conclusions and repeating those talking points because they want to fit in with the group, or do you think it's because of their moral palate?
It's both. It's both, right? It's both. Sometimes it's the moral palate, and sometimes it's because they want to fit in with the group. I think you're like a person who probably fits in more with the group than you otherwise would based on your like moral palate, your internal moral palate, right? Like Bitcoin Twitter is not something that you're culturally like, or you weren't very culturally aligned with it, you know, in the beginning. And
no, I mean, I've come to more towards it.
You've gotten more culturally aligned with it as time's gone on. I mean, your livelihood is centered around having discussions around Bitcoin. And certainly like if a lot of these ideas lean right, you're going to have to be, you know, more acquiescent to that viewpoint than you otherwise would be.
But I am considered right in the UK. I'm
in
very
the UK,
clear, very clear about that.
We view you as a hardcore leftist, like similar to Mao.
Well,
know?
I mean, there is the rest of the world is left of the US.
I don't think that's true of like, you know, the Philippines or Africa.
I know. I think it is
Russia or you know,
everyone is to the left.
That's not true.
That's
they have pretty significant.
That's a generalization.
They have pretty significant like anti-gay laws in places like Saudi Arabia. You know, you know what I mean? Like
that's very fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
you think Saudi Arabia is left of the?
I mean, I was making a generalization for comedic effect, but now we're having to analyze this. I mean, I can agree with you on that point. But look,
here's my thing. It's like, listen, what I want is not. I don't give a fuck what your political opinions are. I don't care. You know what I mean? What I want is deeply reasoned, you know, thinkers in Bitcoin who have come to their own conclusions, and they didn't come here because this is the right thing to say to get engagement on Twitter. And I think like there's this whole new class of like, you know, Bitcoin Twitter influencers. I'm not going to like I'm not going to signal anybody out, but like, you know, there are a lot of people who don't have a very deep understanding of Bitcoin, and it's become very difficult to get like, but yet they have, you know, 100,000 followers on Twitter, and it's become very, and it's become very easy to get clout because Bitcoiners want to hear a sermon that, you know, sounds something like Bitcoin is the best. You should hodl your Bitcoin.
There'll only be 21 million, and there's 6 million millionaires on the planet.
Bitcoin will bring you big titty bitches and eternal riches. You know what I mean? Like these are the things that Bitcoin,
we'll get back to your responsibility for that.
Bitcoin. There's certain things that Bitcoiners want to hear, and if you tell it to them, they're willing to give you clout for it. Like they're willing to follow you, and they're willing to give you engagement on your posts. And you know, you can turn that clout into maybe money at some point. It's unclear. And so like for me, it's like it used to be a lot easier to get sats than it was to get clout. And most of us didn't want clout anyway. Like we wanted to kind of stay more anon because it was the early days. We didn't know if the government was just going to fucking banhammer us at any moment. Right. So it was like, I'm going to buy this Bitcoin, kind of not talk about it. Right. It's like when weed was illegal versus now that weed's legal. Like people just smoke weed out on the street now. You know, it's like normal.
Don't even want to smoke it now.
You're right. It's not cool anymore. It's not cool anymore. And so, I think basically like that's something that people need to be careful of. And like, you shouldn't like, fuck being like a follower of anybody. You know what I mean? Like who cares what anybody else thinks about anything? Like care about what you think and your own ideas. And maybe that like, and so I said earlier, like only 3% of the population thinks for themselves. And so maybe this is just like inevitable in Bitcoin's adoption and, you know, the rise of Bitcoin, that we're going to have a lot more people who don't think for themselves here than we used to.
Yeah, but I think what's happened is like there's different factions now building.
Yeah,
for sure. There is a hardcore toxic pleb culture, like a faction.
The taco carnivore pleb.
The taco carnivore. You spawned that?
I did not spawn the taco carnivore thing.
You did.
I did not.
We'll come back to that. But there is that. I also think there's like what I would consider a traditional Bitcoiners, like a faction of traditional Bitcoiners. They've been around for a long time.
Like a VJ Boyapati.
No, I'm thinking more like Jimmy Song,
okay,
Adam Back, very traditional values, very focused on the mission of Bitcoin. Haven't changed at all. in their views on what Bitcoin should be and where it's going.
Those guys, I mean, those are like technical gods,
and they're going to be around forever, and they're
course.
super important. The annoying thing about that is new people coming along not knowing who the fuck they are. Did you see that guy argue with Adam Back? He said, "You must be new around here."
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Dude,
can you imagine saying that?
And
someone afterwards is like, "Dude, he was cited in the white paper. Shut the fuck up."
I can't remember who I met, but I met somebody in Miami who had never heard of Pierre Rochard or Michael Goldstein, and I was like, these guys are like the Mount Olympus of Bitcoin meme culture. You know what I mean?
And you need to go and read everything they wrote.
Yeah.
That's like a start. You read the white paper and you go on Nakamoto Institute and you read fucking everything.
I was flabbergasted because to me, somebody like a Pierre or a Michael are like famous. I think of them as famous.
I just think of, for me, it's just how important their work is. When I first got in, reading everything. And it's one of those things I need to go back and do again.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of like the Bitcoin Federalist.
Everyone is a scammer is a classic.
Everyone's
great article.
But also what was a great one was the speculative attack.
Yes.
To foresee that was so good. But I think what happens is they come in, like you come onto Bitcoin Twitter, what are you going to see? You're going to see Michael Saylor, obviously, who's kind of new to Bitcoin, very smart, very interesting. You're going to see, some influential kind of people, whether it's people who've got podcasts who write, and a lot of these people have accelerated in growth very quickly. And maybe these people are coming in with like, the earlier you come to Bitcoin, maybe the more you care about going down that rabbit hole. And I may be generalizing here, but maybe you care more about that deep rabbit hole. And some people coming in a little bit looser now, and maybe they don't even read the white paper, or they're not encouraged to read the white paper, or not encouraged to go to Nakamoto Institute. They go to CoinDesk or whatever. They see a Swan Bitcoin talk. They hear what Bitcoin did show, and they just have this very loose connection. And there's no reason them to know or find out these people exist, but they're missing out on like very key parts of the education.
I think that's fine too. Like,
well, it's just
fine.
It's just a different thing. It's almost like it's like you drop a stone in the pond, right? Those big ripples are the center. They're big, and that's where like the core is. But as this idea spreads out, it just becomes a little bit flatter, a little bit looser.
Totally. So I feel like I have this feeling towards those guys, the young guys who are coming in now, like where it's basically like I want them to take the baton. I want them to run with it.
Yeah.
But I also want them to be deep thinkers who are reasoned, who come to their own understanding, who are not having ideas prescribed to them, who are not saying things for engagement farming. You know what I mean? Who like are really trying to push this forward. Those guys take the fucking baton and run with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guys who are coming in like clearly grifting, like, and there are a lot of those. Again, I won't say names, but like that I don't like and never will. And it's basically like at a certain point, I think like,
are they grifting or are they just trying to establish themselves mildly aggressively?
Well, a lot of these guys have a shitcoin, and that shitcoin is themselves, and that's the shitcoin they're shilling. You're a little bit that way.
Come on, man.
But I love you. It's true.
I'm not
about you. I'm saying in general.
Like I probably was like that early on. I'm less of that now.
Yeah, for sure.
But I have a product and I'm marketing it. It's a show, and I want people to listen to it.
Totally.
So that's a reality.
You got to market yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Products get marketed, but I understand what you mean, and I just think as this idea grows, it becomes more boring. It becomes easier to use. People have to care less.
True. That's very true.
And some people are just going to turn up. They're going to download a wallet. It's going to become with their privacy baked in. They're going to buy some Bitcoin. They're going to spend it. They have this known. They don't have this deep need. Like before we even had wallets. I mean, I'm guessing some people were using the command line interface. You've got to have a deep technical knowledge,
right?
And then if
it was inaccessible to me at that time period, I could have never come in at that time period.
Interestingly enough, the first time I ever bought Monero, I used the command line interface.
Really?
But I did.
Interesting.
But then I got stuck not knowing how to get it out, so I ended up having to get Fluffy Pody had to sort that shit out for me. But I first used it on the command line interface.
Well, yeah, and I think it's totally cool for new people to come in and explain it and take ownership of it. And like Bitcoin is so much bigger than any one of us. So like to get all hung up on like your identity as like a Bitcoin think boy or whatever, it's like, who gives a shit, man?
Well,
like, Bitcoin's bigger than you,
I think this new wave of macro thinkers has been brilliant. And these are people who, if there was no Bitcoin, there'd still be macro thinkers. Lynn Alden's incredible. Luke Wyman's great.
Mm-hmm.
Even George Gammon I like Preston Pish.
I've been spending a lot of, do you know Joe Carlosari?
definitely know that name. Why do I know that name?
Yeah, he does Twitter Spaces and stuff. I've been spending a lot of time with him, and he's been really, he has a master's degree in economics. He's a lawyer in Chicago, and he's been explaining the Eurodollar system to me and how it works, and how the Fed doesn't really print money, and like the actual intricacies of the plumbing surrounding like the global liquidity of the dollar, and like that shit, man. It's just like I didn't know any of that. I've spent the last year like learning it, and I have like a very noobish understanding of it. Like I couldn't fully explain it or articulate it to you. But it's important for me to like learn that shit now that we're bigger, now that we're more prominent. Like it's not just Bitcoin Twitter culture that matters anymore. It's like the macro environment matters more than anything.
But you've got someone like Saifedean who's basically a Bitcoin economist.
Yeah.
And then you've got macro economists who like Bitcoin.
Yes.
And that means we've grown. The pie's growing, the ship's growing, we've got more people. And it's like, yeah, I like Bitcoin, but I've got all this other shit I got to pay attention to. But this is the role it plays with that. And I think that's just a part of the evolution. I think it's good.
Yeah.
It would be nice to get people back to that, but I just don't think people are going to care that much.
It's I keep pointing people to this piece by Paul Tudor Jones. Do you know it? The Great Monetary Inflation? You remember that one?
Yeah.
Basically, like what he outlines in the piece is that hard assets are going to do really well in this macro environment, and Bitcoin's going to be the fastest horse in the race. And I think that's the correct framework for the next decade that we're going into, essentially.
Yeah.
Like the what got us here won't get us there. So it's like it's important to do the work and become a little broader and more in depth in our understanding, and not just do meme culture shit all day. Which, like, listen, I was like the worst at that. I'm like, what I mean? That's me. I'm that guy. But also, I'm in Bitcoin for the long haul, and like I really want to understand what's happening in the world on a deeper level.
And when you say what got us here, is that more? It was the kind of anarchist, like rebellious, like resistance,
irreverent, like fun, like cool, cypherpunk, sovereignty,
but we had
libertarianism,
to be resilient against some pretty big attacks.
Yeah. And I mean, we had to be intolerant too.
Yeah.
At that time, in order for Bitcoin to be here, we had to be extremely intolerant, right? I don't know if that intolerance is like required in peacetime. It's probably required. Like vigilance is always required in Bitcoin. You have to be constantly vigilant. There's like that Ben Franklin quote where it's like, that's the price of liberty, is like constant vigilance, right? So yeah, essentially like we always have to be on guard for attacks against Bitcoin, and we always are, especially if you're like me, like I have 100% of my net worth in Bitcoin. So like things that affect Bitcoin really fucking affect me. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I'm always on guard for that shit. But like, honestly, it's a lot of the same bullshit over and over and over again. And there are new things to know. We're moving into a new territory. This is a big boy asset now. Like, basically, yeah, what got us here can't get us there. We gotta go forward. Or you can just say, fuck it, I'm just in my HODL Zen mode and I don't need to understand what's happening. I'm just, I've already predetermined the outcome that Bitcoin's inevitable. And I'm just gonna chill out until we get there.
So you're saying we don't need the toxic taco plebs that you created?
So I didn't create the taco pleb movement. I think Pirate Beach Bum, Psychedelic Bart, and Dieter Bob are the architects of the taco carnivore plebs. Yeah,
but they're like they're kind of morphed from you.
I think my style has been parodied into oblivion.
How many dot hodls are there now?
Many. There's many.
Every time you see one, does it have a little like bell ring your head? Like that's what I started.
It's like, son. No, it's just for me. It's like I can't watch my own style be parodied over and over again. It's boring. I
think it's funny, man.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it.
There's like Arizona HODL.
There's a lot of HODLs now.
Yeah. Mumbai HODL, Bangladesh HODL. They're everywhere, and it's a real culture. But they certainly have this. There's a style to the HODLs.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're very intolerant.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
I think with me when I was doing it, like.
But you did like there was there was a funny side to it.
I'm pretty affable. Like most of it is me joking around.
Yeah, that's what I always felt. I never felt it was that serious.
And I feel like a lot of people miss the joke.
Yeah.
And only saw like the vitriolic parts of it. But it's like performance art. I talk with Junset about this all the time. It's like me and Junset both were doing different versions of performance art in Bitcoin. And it's like you never know what kind of culture you're going to spawn after you leave. You know what I mean? It's I take no responsibility.
You made me a lot of new friends, that's for sure.
Some of your besties, huh?
Yeah, some of my besties. I get on really well with them.
It's sort of like at the end of Fight Club when he realizes that Project Mayhem is like grown beyond him, and he's like, "Oh my god, what's happening?
What have I created?"
The narrator's in the middle of the story, and he's like, "Wait, what? What's going on?" You know what I mean? Sometimes I have that feeling.
Who's Dieter Bob in that film?
He's the guy with the bitch tits. Absolute Meatloaf. Yeah.
R.I.P. Meatloaf. Yeah, sad times. All right, man. Well, how are we doing for time?
About an hour and a half.
Jesus, that's just flown by.
Yeah, we can go longer.
What do you want to talk about?
Come on, baby. What's on the sheet?
It's your sheet.
You told me last night at dinner you wanted to talk about rational shitcoining.
Well, I did that at the start.
Did we?
Yeah, I talked about the stablecoins.
Oh, stablecoins.
Yeah,
that's your idea of shitcoining. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's like I say. I've spent. Well, we don't even talk about that because we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think we've done the list, man. That's the problem.
Yeah. I think one of the things on the list is like the negative implications of Bitcoin, which like never get talked about. And I think the one big negative implication of Bitcoin, and I don't know if it's a negative or a positive. That was a nice header.
That was a great header.
Yeah.
What a day.
I don't know if it's a negative or a positive, but something we never talk about with Bitcoin is that we turned on an unstoppable machine. It's a machine that we can't turn off.
Yeah.
We've never done that before. I don't know in the history of humanity we've ever had a machine that can't be turned off.
It's an organism.
Right.
That's growing.
Yeah. And in some senses, I've said this before, but I feel that Bitcoin is a narrow yet powerful AI. Are you familiar with this thought experiment?
Tell me. Which one?
So it's by Bostrom, the same guy who created simulation theory. I think it comes from the book Superintelligence. And basically, the thought experiment is of a paperclip maximizer. And a paperclip maximizer is a narrow AI. It has one function. That function is to create paperclips. But it's also powerful. So it's not a general AI. It can't think and feel. It doesn't have motives. It just creates paperclips. But it has too much power, so it ends up turning the entire universe into paperclips. And in some sense, I think that Bitcoin is a narrow yet powerful AI that basically turns the entire world into Bitcoin. I mean, look at me. What the fuck am I doing here? So a random Japanese guy releases free code on the internet, and now I'm here in Nashville with you, a random British guy.
Yeah.
Like, what? Sometimes
Who owns a football team?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's happening? I'm just like being sucked into this vortex. I've basically like become 100% Bitcoin at this point. You know,
we were with Harry Sullick the other day, and
I love Harry. By the way,
Harry's
the best.
Harry is the best. We were with him in New York, and we made a show, and afterwards we went to dinner, and it was me, Harry, and Jeremy, and we were talking about. He said Bitcoin's a black hole.
Yes, it is.
And I was like, yeah, but I actually think Bitcoin is the singularity.
Yeah.
And so like we were kind of like discussing this idea, and we ended up dumping the show and like recording 2 days later and re-recording and discussing the idea of the singularity. Is it like it eats up all this stuff, right? You know, and you can think of it on a personal micro level or on a macro level. Like you said, look, 5 years ago, my life was a fucking shit show. I didn't know what I was going to do. I started a podcast, and here I am now sat with you, and I own a football team, and I make films, and I've interviewed a president. Like all these things that have come out of it.
Yeah.
That's my micro level. On a macro level, there are a bunch of people in Bedford who are learning about this new form of money because there's a football team.
Yeah.
There's like a village in El Zonte. There's a lake in Guatemala. There's all these things like propping up, and what's happening is they're like Bitcoin is like this black hole that's eating everything, and like ultimately it's like this singularity.
It's a paperclip maximizer. The entire world is becoming Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You are Bitcoin. I am Bitcoin now. Like we have just become this thing. Like it feels like sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and the Bitcoin price has moved. Why am I waking up in the middle of the night knowing that the Bitcoin price has moved? It's because my fucking central nervous system is attached to this thing. I stare at this thing all day long. So even when I'm asleep and literally unconscious, my brain is like, ugh. Things are happening in Bitcoin. Must wake up. You know what I mean? Like,
but think how much more aggressive it's been. So think 2010, Bitcoin's been around for about a year. You know, it's a tiny, like if it's a black hole, it's tiny, and like
tiny.
You have to get to that event horizon. It's difficult because you had to be
not sucking you in yet.
No, you had to be in weird places on the internet. You had to be on Slashdot in 2011, or you had to be on like some.
You have to be trying to buy drugs on the subreddit.
Well, but even pre that, and then where we're at now is like everyone's heard of it.
Yeah,
you know, everyone's aware of it. It's not like nobody had heard of it then. You know, a few people. Now everyone's heard of it, as it starts eating up more things, the energy sector, the finance section, things start blowing up, like you can't avoid it anymore. All these people are on Twitter writing fucking essays about why Bitcoin's terrible. In the end, it's going to eat them.
Yeah.
It's going to swallow them up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so we made this show where we're like, Bitcoin is the singularity.
By the way, I fully agree with that entirely.
Yeah.
Like there is a post-Bitcoin world that is entirely different than the Bitcoin world that we live in now. It's like
I don't think we know fully what that is.
Well, we
hope for the best.
Just like the early internet, we have a lot of very utopian ideas around what it is, and I expect us to all look like fucking morons in the intervening decades.
Yeah.
But it's hard to not be super excited about what it brings. And for me, it's like one of the negatives that Bitcoin could bring is like straight up feudalism. I don't like to think that thought.
No, but like, you're entirely right.
It's a negative, and I don't. Yeah. But one of the positives is like if we, fix malinvestment in the world, essentially we could make the world like 2% better per year compounded. So let's say fiat makes the world 2% worse per year compounded. We're at the end of like 50 some odd years of that. And we're looking around and we're like, man, things are shit.
Yeah, everything's fucked.
Whereas if we get Bitcoin, the ball rolls in the opposite direction. We make things 2% better. Probably takes us 50 years to get back to even what we lost. So we like lost 100 years in sum total. Right. And then after that, we're back on the upswing again and things are going great. And then as humans always do, we'll find a way to fuck it up. Not us, but our grandchildren will fuck it up, because that's what we do when things are too good. Like think about being in heaven.
Good times.
Think about being in heaven. Do you actually want to be in heaven? You wake up and every day's fucking perfect. After a while, you would be like, this sucks. This is a prison. I want to go to fucking hell. That's what it is to be human, And so even if Bitcoin is utopian, and I think it is.
Fuck these grapes.
Humans are not utopians, and humans will do terrible, shitty things with this tool. Like we do terrible, shitty things with every tool.
Yeah, but like maybe there's limitations now to the shitty things we can do with this tool.
Yeah,
because the incentive structure is, it's not so much how it's designed, how it's just evolved to be. The incentive structure is that you can't get out of it. It's like the miners. They have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
They can't be negative. They can't fuck with the system because it's a waste of money for them. They have to, they want their block reward. We can't fuck with this.
No, that's true.
So therefore it's like maybe.
But here's the problem is like, we know that. And eventually that's going to be culture. That's going to, when Bitcoin eats the world, the idea that we can't fuck with the rules is going to be the default. That's the dogmatism of, 100 years from now.
Someone's going to try and fuck with the rules.
Somebody's going to come along and be like, you know what?
We need to fuck with the rules.
I think we should fuck with the rules, And once they get enough steam for that idea, they will. Like, ultimately. I don't know if it takes 300 years, 1,000 years, whatever, but like, people are going to fuck up this. In the long run, Bitcoin will have been a story. Talk about the personalities in Bitcoin and all the influencers and the technical guys and everybody. Like, in the long run, Bitcoin will have been a story about when a bunch of imperfect humans met a perfect machine and what happened, right? That's the story of Bitcoin.
That's a great place to end it, man.
Yeah.
Profound ending from Mr. HODL. I have nowhere to send people to because you're not anywhere.
Listen, all I want to say is I see trees of orange roses too. I see them orange for me and you.
You should sing that like Jen Seth.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
That was terrible.
Man, we're so out of tune.
I suck.
The headphones let me hear it. It's like, oh man, you suck at singing.
I went a bit quieter than you just in case. Like when you're driving your car and you're like, you've got the music on loud and you're singing along, you're like, fuck, I can sing. And then you turn it down a little bit. It's like, no, I'm terrible.
Totally.
I'm a terrible singer.
Totally.
Brother, good to see you.
Dude, it's good to see you.
You should stay tonight.
2027, you're fucked. $1 million a coin. Biatch.
We will see. We will see, man. But I think you should stay tonight.
I'll talk to the wife and see if that's. We have a 4-month-old, so it's like I'm kind of needed back.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean?
We'll see, man. All right, cool.
All right,
good to see you, man.